There was an old abandoned apartment building just downtown from where I live, and it always gave me goosebumps. I never wanted to go in there, not after what I've heard from my friends. You see, me and my friends weren't some, well, piece of craps or Janes across the street. No, we were just some random people looking for a good buzz. Yes, we're furries, basically. Yes, you have heard correct. Furries. We're the type of furries that would go into furry conventions, dress up in fursuits, and do a bunch of crazy crap that furry would. We would also make cute noises and do some animal crap. But hey, it's what we do best. So yeah, it could be anything unnerving, but we just don't care about those people think. We're furries, and that's all we'll ever be. Those haters can go F themselves and go F off. I have no respect for them. I have no sympathy for them, and why should I give up my fursuit? Why should I be considered an outcast? Give me an effing break. Anyways, I never felt uncomfortable being around that abandoned apartment. It just gave me a gut feeling that it kept telling me that there's something strange, effed up, and downright cynical in that building. Even my friends John, Kevin, Finn, and I saw something really enormous with it. Now, John and Kevin were also furries. John is a fox, and Kevin is a jaguar. And as for me, I was a fox, similar to John, but my fur was colored in red with white stripes. And I remember me, John, and Kevin walking to a furry convention downtown, and we stopped and we stared at the apartment. We suddenly felt a chill go down our spines, and we glanced at it. I can't believe that they have not torn it down yet, John said. It's been, I don't know, 2 years since Freddy died in there. Oh man, you still remember Fred? Kevin asked. That guy was a total douchebag. One time he effed his girlfriend backwards, and then he talked about having a baby and then went behind her back and told me that he was going to abort it. Wow, what an a-hole, John said, looked at the sky in disbelief. I remember him uploading a YouTube video of him beating the crap out of his dogs, but the video got deleted instantly and he got a total backlash from fans. I'm just wondering why his entire channel didn't get deleted. That's some BS right there. They had something to do with that, well, pollution entertainment guy. Kevin shook his head, but that's not compared to what he did this summer. Oh, you don't mean, John said, eyes wide. Oh yes, I do. Last time I checked the neighbors, they heard two people arguing something in Furry's apartment. Until they got a woman terrified screams, smashing and even glass shattering for what felt like hours. Shrieking stopped, and everything just went dead silent. The neighbors were on edge when the door opened. Everyone rushed back inside and slammed the door shut, but they all looked out of their windows to see Freddy getting dragged by a garbage bag and threw it into the dumpster. So he killed Freddy? John asked. He was at the edge as well, deeply fascinated with the story. Yep, and days later, the police found his girlfriend, all chopped up to bits inside the trash bag. The motive was very simple. All he wanted was to kill the child, but she didn't want to. She wanted to start a family, but with his flew Freddy into a maniacal range, and he savagely killed and put with her with a butcher knife, chopped her up, and then with the hatchet that he had in his room, put the pieces inside the garbage bag and threw it in the dumpster outside his home. And with that said, Kevin had finished the story with a single glance at a back run-down apartment. Me, on the other hand, have never heard of what the two were talking about Freddy for like 2 years before the incident. Now that I've since learned about his backstory, we looked at the both of them and said, wait, what is that? Had been given a trial. He has not been arrested. He is, well, on the run now. Oh no, he's not on the run. But yes, they did went to arrest him. But he did lock himself in his apartment due to angry mob outside his door. Turns out he did that much worse things like killing cats and robbing school children out of their lunch money, even gleefully driving fat people to end their lives. And that's not all. The reason why they were here in the first place was because they were led by a furious father of the girl Freddy killed. Since he is a furry, however, he was going into a furry convention when the angry mob arrived, and they were all shouting death threats at him, and the father slammed his fist on the door, shrieking violently for him to open up, which Freddy refused. This went on throughout the night, and the police immediately powerless, so they went to call in the SWAT team to settle the raging crowd of people. Finally, around 1 o'clock in the morning, after father went to his car, opened up the trunk, and brought out a Molotov cocktails in order that it was to burn Freddy's last chance, that if he doesn't come out, the whole entire apartment will burn. Nothing happened when the police saw what was happening. They ordered the father to put down the Molotovs, but he didn't listen. He was getting really waiting for a response. Freddy, with a shining example of ignorance, opened up the window and said, "Go F yourself." This ultimately proved to be the biggest mistake yet. The father was now purple with rage and snorted smoke through his nostrils like a bull, ready to charge at someone. He lit the Molotov with his cigarette lighter and threw it at him, but of course Freddy dodged it and the room behind him was doused into flames. The father constantly threw every Molotov in the apartment, causing the raging inferno to build up inside, like a burning in the building like a furnace. The flames were so hot that Freddy began to sweat inside the suit. The SWAT team was more ready to take down the angry mob, and they were substitute of the angry father. But just as he fought them up and continued to throw Molotov after Molotov at Freddy's apartment, the father was then pepper sprayed, tasered, and even tackled by numerous times. But he just gets back up and continues to fiery attack on Fred. It was all that if Satan himself hadn't taken control over him, the apartment was engulfed entirely with a blanket of flames, and Freddy had nowhere to run or hide. As soon as he was trapped, the flames just reached to his fursuit, and sooner or later, he was on fire. Police, SWAT teams, and the angry mob had heard blood-curdling screams of agony from inside the burning building. The father had stopped throwing when he heard Freddy, and tackled the last time before being taken to the police car in handcuffs. After that brutal night, the firefighters had already put out the flames and searched up through the rubble and found Freddy. He was burnt from head to toe. His fursuit was burnt into his own body, becoming his own. Turns out that the cause of immediate death was the fursuit that was made out of foam, like the rest of our suits, and foam is indeed flammable. Jesus, John stuttered at the end of Kevin's tale. So what happened to the girl's father? I asked. Oh, he was hauled off into jail, and as soon as the body was charred with Fred, he was hauled off to the morgue when they had noticed a single piece of paper that wasn't burnt. It was a drawing of Fred's persona, the Sphinx cat. Legend was that Fred's ghost haunts the place to this day, and nobody was taken out of it. They were just too afraid to send the building to the ground. They reported unexplainable temperature changes, strange technological glitches, unusual scents, object movement, unidentifiable sounds, and lately the mayor just went to the last destruction of the building, but found out the demonetization team was running out of the building screaming their heads off. That's when they realized the mayor knew that there was a ghost in the apartment. A ghost? Really? What's next? A magical dragon that vomits rainbows? I joked. Dude, this is serious, John said. Don't you believe in ghosts? Well, to be honest, no, I told him. I wanted to, but since my dad would spew Bible verses from his gullet and force me to become a preacher on the pulpit. Ugh, I hate those guys. John rolled his eyes in agitation. I know, right? My dad would bash my skull with every Bible and verse in his book and start preaching the gospel out of the blue. All because I was doing the normal stuff, like drawing anime characters, chatting with my mom about her boyfriend. Hell, I can't even eat devil's food cake because it has the word devil on it. Wow, and you guys say my dad's weird? John chuckles. Like the time your dad stuck his, thing inside a watermelon, just because he wanted to show you how, you know what? What? Kevin asked. Well, yeah, I was 9 years old too. Jesus, and this isn't the first time he did something like this in front of me. John then placed his finger on each finger and then counted as many times as his father did something stupid. He ate a bird's butt. Of course, there's lots of weird stuff that has happened. Hell, he even found a dead deer with my sock on it, just to show me why is the deer around the place. Both me and Kevin were at the verge of vomiting on the spot. Oh God, I think I'm gonna be sick, Kevin says he choked back the puke. What the hell? Is your dad crazy or something? I choked back the vomit as well. Well, sort of. He's most likely a redneck, but who knows if he doesn't think twice when it comes to teaching kids about safe stuff. If he was my school teacher, remind me to call me in sick, I said. We both then stopped talking as we started at the abandoned building, never breaking contact. Maybe when we do come back, we can go inside and... Are you out of your mind? Kevin interrupted John. What if Freddy will get you? Oh, please, Freddy isn't gonna do anything. I mean, come on. The dead can't hurt the living. I've been a ghost hunting for quite some time, and I've never got any contact with just a random dead guy. I highly doubt it, Kevin sighed, rolling his eyes in sheer ignorance. John displayed. After we went to the furry convention, the sun had already went down, and we walked back to the apartment. That night, we just stood there and glanced at the building. You guys ready? John asked. Dude, can't we just talk about it? 'Cause this isn't right. Yeah, John, I got a bad feeling about this, I said. Well, you guys are all completely chickens, John laughed. Now come on, let's get going. After a moment of banjoing, we finally gave in from the pressure and reluctantly walked up towards the dilapidated door of the building and opened it, revealing a dusty stairway full of children's toys. Guess the kids who lived here didn't have time to pick up their stuff after they moved, I thought to myself. We both headed upstairs with a sudden creaking sound coming from underneath our feet as we made our way inside the apartment. Everything was so disgusting and dirty, and it had an ominous feel to it, like if it was at any moment some ghoul would pop out of the shadows and chase us out of the building. But one of the things that creeped me out was that there was no sound, like literally no sound. The only things audible were our footsteps, our breathing, and the city's nightlife outside. It was quite that you could say easily hear from the drop of the feather. Then we made our way outside of the door at the end of the hallway to our left. Room 13. This was the place Freddy lived before he died. Me and Kevin let out a shaky sigh. Okay, here we go, Kevin said. After you, I replied. Kevin slowly opened the door, expecting some spectator to be right in front of the doorway, but nothing was there. It was just charred remains of the apartment room. As for the door opened, a wave of ash and cinder filled our nostrils. It smelled like burning wood in a fire pit, except it was everywhere, and filled our nostrils to the point of us holding our noses. As we entered and looked around, as if we were walking inside a house that had been burned to the ground, there was some blackness here and there. Even the couch had been reduced to a burger. And of course, I went inside the bedroom. I saw the entire place in shambles. Picture frames were smashed, the dresser was knocked over. Hell, even the window was smashed. Then I even noticed a large dark red stain on the carpet next to the bed. This is where Freddy killed his girlfriend. This was the part where I heard the strange knock on the wall beside me. I looked and there was nothing there. Hello? I called out. No response. Just John and Kevin walking around the living room. They too heard the knock and went inside the bedroom where I was. Dude, what was that? Kevin asked. I hushed them and we all listened from John's experience in ghost hunting. And he learned that you can contact spirits by calling them out, but not too loud, in the way that it's friendly. John was a little too unnerved but shook it off. I could clearly see the whole of us becoming here was blowing up right in our face. Freddy, John called out. If you're with us, please knock twice. For hours on end, we heard nothing. John asked twice, still nothing. Just then we heard shuffling from the living room. As we exited out of the bedroom, our jaws dropped. The chairs moved away from the dining table. I swear to God that didn't happen where the kitchen area was, Kevin said, clearly scared out of his wits. Holy crap! I shivered, almost out of breath. I took it upon myself and called out to Freddy. Did you move the chairs? No response as usual. Suddenly there came in a slam of one of the doors of the hallways outside Freddy's apartment, and then with 3 sharp knocks on the bathroom door. 3 of us were beginning to feel a bit jumpy. Me and Kevin were surprised to see John is scared, and even though this stupid butt was the one who put us in the mess in the first place, we should have just never came back here. We all checked to see if there was any ghosts of some kind, but that would result of us jumping from fright. Sudden noises that would just come out of nowhere. After the clock struck 5 or 12, me, John, and Kevin wondered if we should just call it quits. But suddenly before we left, there was a sudden noise from behind us, slow heavy breathing, as if someone ran about a 4-hour jog, and we slowly turned to see where it was. There was Freddy. He was in his fursuit, all burnt and withered, and like a teddy bear that was set on fire. We could see his fingers through the burnt cat gloves. He looked at us, breathing heavily through his mask. After what felt like hours, he slowly lifted his hands towards his mask and took the mask off, revealing his face. We felt a nerve of shock, horror, and bewilderment as we saw the underneath that mask. That excited to us turned us to fright until we saw his face. It was unlike anything we've ever seen. There were parts of his face that was completely gone. He had no eyelids, no nose. It was just a skull. His skin was then charred with bits of flesh still attached. His lips were burnt off, exposing his rotten brown and black teeth. He was torn, bleeding gums, and there was even few strands of hair attached to his scalp. His eyes were the worst. He looked as if he was suffering from empirical burns. He then looked as if he should be blind. It appears that he could still see us. He looked at us and smiled at us, and we could still hear the squishing of his flesh as he moved into a grin. Although the door was our main exit to get out of there, we never once looked back. Both of us made a run for it, and we heard the room from room 13 open and shut by itself. We ran outside, and I stopped as I glanced back for a moment. And then I heard Freddy's ghostly voice whisper directly in my ear. It was filled with malice and even spite. And stay out. That was the one that made me yelp and catch up to with John and Kevin. We ran back to our house and felt that as if our lungs could burst at any moment. We paced around the room trying to comprehend what the hell just happened. It was just their mind playing tricks on us, and our anxiety got the better of us. Or was that the real thing? I can remember those three cold, demented words in my head when I was trying to forget about them. We never did go back in that apartment, and after that terrifying night. But one thing is for certain. When we walked past that building, even after dark, we felt as if we were being watched. Just recently, I stood in front of the building, glanced up as I was taking a midnight walk to see if I happened to see my way down the sidewalk. Just then, a ghostly voice whispered in my ear, "Now do you believe?" Well, and that, my little pretties, was Furry Freddy. Furry, I guess you could say, furry fandom, creepypasta, written by TheDarkCat97. TheDarkCat97, thank you so much for this story. This was awesome. I had really fun time, narrating this story. Thank you so much. And anyways, yeah, my final thoughts on this story. Well, this is actually a pretty well made pasta. Like, I'm not gonna lie. This pasta was actually pretty good. Even though this is involving, furries, I definitely have to say that this story actually had a really good, going for. It was actually pretty well made and detailed. It was interesting. Really do like how everything went out. It was just, wow. I could definitely say it was pretty something. Now, with this story, I definitely have to say that this story actually played a pretty good, concept to it. Like, the fact that, there was, this paranormal stuff going on involving, someone in the fursuit named Freddy. I'm pretty sure this may be based on the true story or something, because if it is, wow, it's pretty believable, but it's messed up too. Like, there was parts of this that were really messed up in detail. Like, there were some parts that were really messed up. Definitely have to say this one actually played out pretty well for what it was. So I definitely have to say that this story actually did pretty interesting. It had an interesting concept and all that. It actually had a really good detail as to why this story exists. Well, not story exists, but why caused Freddy to, be, nightmarish or something. And oh boy, I definitely have to say that this story, oh god, this story was actually pretty messed up at certain parts, but it's still a pretty good story. The grammar was really well done, just the same with the sentence structuring, but I could definitely say that it was jammed into one paragraph, like one giant ass paragraph. So there were parts of the story that was a little confusing to read because there were places that should have been spaced out a little more with the paragraph structuring. Like, the paragraph structuring of this story, it needs to be spaced out a little more. And as soon as it is spaced out a little more, it should be more interesting. But not only that, it should be even, has a bet, it would actually be interesting if someone sat there and did that. But I could definitely tell this story was made, I think back in 2018. And I wasn't really a fan of this, but I definitely have to say that this story actually played out well. It's actually a pretty good story. It actually was amazing. Definitely know what what this story was going for. It actually, whoa, my goodness. I definitely have to say that the story actually was pretty messed up in detail. Not gonna lie, the story was messed up at certain parts, but I definitely have to say, I really found this story to be enjoyable. Although it's messed up, but it's still a pretty good story. So, I guess that's with what I'm gonna have to say. With that being the case, and with that being said, I actually found this story to be rather, well, amazing. Now, I did notice there were a few parts of the story that was kind of a little confusing, per se. It was just a little confusing. Like, there were, like, parts of the story that was actually, confusing. But other than that, the story actually portrayed interesting concept with the whole story. It actually was pretty neat, to be honest. So I think I could definitely say that this story actually provided, really good detailing and all that. And the detailing of the story was pretty good too. So that is awesome. Now, the only thing I could definitely say was the paragraph structuring. It needed to be worked on, maybe just space out certain paragraphs, because, like, there are certain parts of the story that have, paragraphs that could be separated. But other than that, this was actually a pretty interesting story. And I'm not going to lie, this story was awesome. Now, anyways, with that being said, anyways, with that being the case, and with that being said, I'm going to sit here and say this right now. This is just simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that is fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these, creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be I'm gonna give this one a 9 out of 10. It's a pretty good story. It was really well made and detailed. It had a good concept. It was amazing, really well made and detailed. It actually provided pretty good storytelling and all that. But unfortunately, with that being said, I wasn't really, I just really wasn't, a fan of the fact that, there was certain, well, not a fan, but, like, there was parts of the story that kind of got, a little, weird. Like, there was parts of the story that, just didn't really make a whole lot of sense, but other than that, the story actually provided a pretty good, interesting pasta, so, alright. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and, kind of wrap this up. So, anyways, with that being the case, and with that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done person to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so that you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.